my entry point is $1,000 for my workforce. So that's one day for most consultants. $1,000 is where they position themselves if they are on day rate.
Hey there, this is Neil Napier from MyFirst1000, and today I'm here with Peter, and I'll be talking to Peter about how he was able to make his first $1,000 and where he is at right now. So Peter, give us a quick hello, please.
Hey, Neil, thanks very much for that. So yeah, my name's Peter O'Donoghue from peterodonoghue.com. And my focus and my expertise is helping consultants create predictable revenue streams without doing day rate work or cold calling or relying on referrals. So that's my community. And I'm a course creator and seller, I guess you could put it that way.
It's an interesting community that you're going after, because a lot of consultants are still used to exchanging time for money. And when I talk to a few of them, they say it's either feast or famine, which means sometimes they don't get work. So do you work toward helping them being able to get work all the time? Is that your goal?
Yeah, so my main community is more what you would call the traditional consulting community. There's a lot on the internet, certainly in the world, so that we may see, the Facebook advertising, how to grow or start your consulting business. But my community is, more that sort of 30 to 60-year-olds who may have worked for one of the big consultancy practices or are used to working in an environment where they would deliver something face-to-face with people. So I used to have very specific trainings and it was about how to get your first 5 clients. But I've working with those guys, what I've realized now it's a much bigger picture perspective. So I always assumed that they knew their value offering. They were consultants, had been for a long time, and it was just how to go and get clients. But then what I found is, over the last couple of years, 5 years, the internet has reshaped so much that they were still struggling with getting their heads around that you don't have to go and deliver day rate work or even find intermediaries or create a business model that once you've created it, you've created a beast that you don't like, i.e. you work everything you can to create a model, which means you go and slave away doing day rate work, which is something that I did probably 10 years ago and I hated it, but that's another story. We may talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Do you find these people are open to buying a course from someone online and learning from someone? Because I would feel that if they are already running a successful business, they feel like they don't have anything more to learn. So what drives them to come to someone like you? How are you able to sell these courses that you create to them?
So people have different motivations. And again, it's understanding, as I teach my clients, it's understanding your ideal client profile, understanding their drivers and the gaps, the pain to glory exercises of where they are in the reality. So a lot of my target audience is very ego driven. They're very resistant to hype and hyperbole, and potentially very well educated, and they believe a lot in themselves. However, what they struggle with is the world has changed, and a lot of them. So when I do a lot of direct outreach. That's my thing. I've come from working with enterprise technology companies and SaaS companies, and I've sold technology for over 20 years. That's kind of my background. And while when I do reach out with sort of more traditional consulting companies and consultants, they say, "Oh, I'm booked up for the next 6 months. I don't need you. I don't even need to speak to you." But then actually, when you push a little bit further, what you find is they're working as an outsourced employee almost. It's on, I'm booked up for the next 6 months. But when you talk about that with them, it's because they're on a day rate with one client on site for 18 or 20 days a month. And they've got nowhere to go. They've got a ceiling gap there, and they're kind of stuck. And then what they're finding is there's a lot of agencies coming in who are pushing their day rates down and being intermediaries. The traditional referral network, their business model is changing. The referral people are getting constricted in their business model, so they're almost growing and taking over where they would be referring consultants. So, everyone is in a state of flux at the moment.
Sure.
So, yeah, my market is very resistant to hyperbole, but they are
Mhm.
faced with challenges that they need help with. And they recognize that they don't necessarily have the skill set to do that. And a training course, I blend, so I have training courses and coaching, and I give
Okay.
people options. So it's not just they can take the training course, or they can have one-to-one or group support with it. And I think definitely people are open to that in my marketplace. But it's one of I guess, the hardest to convince, if you like, that is a right solution for them, because their model is, like, I'm gonna, you give me 800 quid and I'll come and work for you for a day, and so
Sure.
now. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. So you talk about how to make your first 1,000. So my entry point is $1,000 for my
Okay.
one course. So that's one day for most consultants. $1,000 is where they position themselves if they are on day rates. Not saying I agree with day rate work. That's part of my philosophy. Is the quicker we get out day rates, the better. But so I'm selling a course that's equivalent to one day's worth of work for them. And I still get on the phone now with people, and then it's like, the ones who are really hesitant is, but you want me to pay $1,000, and it's just like, look, but you want someone to pay you that for a day, so it's getting over that. But in the whole, the marketplace is attuned to finding different ways of both getting support and then how they can take that and deliver it to their clients as well.
I really like this because not a lot of people have the courage to actually go after value-based pricing. So a lot of people look at their competitors, they look at how much time did I spend creating something, and they price that course accordingly. But you're going after, hey, what you learned from this, you can make that back in a day, and then some more as you continue implementing. So I really like this, the way you position this, which brings me to a question, because you've talked about obstacles that you have faced when people, when you're trying to sell to them, they're hesitant, they're more ego driven in that case. But were you successful with this outright, or did it take you a few tries to settle on a course or an offer that worked for you?
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't say I've been successful from my right. I've been looking and playing the courses for many, many years, really. And I had multiple hurdles that have stopped me. No, firstly, myself, for many ways. I used to be and still am a consultant, and I ran a sales training business. So I learned SEO 12,
Okay.
13 years ago. I went and learned SEO and put my sales training business #1 in the UK for pretty much every sales training term, and created a monster that I hated, but didn't sell courses when I should have done then. Bought into a lot of technology that I kind of played with and dabbled, instead of, and spending a lot of time trying to evaluate what is the best technology, instead of just picking
Sure.
one and going with it and getting content and stuff out there, and all the rest of the stuff, pissing around with intros and outros and all, instead of just putting content out there. Looking for people to help me with marketing rather than just getting it done. I spent 6 months working with a couple of people, and ended up with nothing, who promised to deliver the earth in terms of,
Sure.
his course will run the marketing. So, I've had many failed attempts, but, I've learned from every single one of them, and probably a couple of years quicker or later than I would have liked, I guess. So I've learned a lot of lessons along the way.
Okay. And I mean, I know with agencies, I've tried to work with agencies before myself to drive traffic. And the problem is, I feel that most of the time they don't have a skin in the game. So they're not as involved with the outcome. They get paid up front. They say they've done their job. But, as a business owner, I quite often don't see the result, especially for traffic and lead gen. So that's been a little bit disappointing in some ways. But good to know I'm not the only one with that problem. But yeah, technology can be an issue as well. As long as you can resolve that, I think life just becomes so much simpler. So
Yeah,
that's good.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh, Now, I do have a question about kind of what are your biggest challenges right now? So we talked about what you were struggling with before, which was technology, and you hinted at perfectionism or you kind of stopping yourself from succeeding. Is that still an issue, or have you overcome that and now you have bigger issues or new issues?
Yeah, I guess for me, so I put my course content out there, and it's by no means 100% polished and finished, but there comes a point where you have to put it in. So the key recommendation that I make to people is uh, pre-sell if you can. So, i.e., go to your warm network and pre-sell the course or the content, and let people know that you're pre-selling it, and get them involved. You know, only listen to people who are going to pay for the course, because you have so many naysayers, or you should be doing this. So get people to pay it up front if you can, and then the first people that take action, get a lot of information from them. But I've put content up that I've had days where my little baby has been sick, so I've created content at home. So the audio is not as great as it should be, but it still goes up because it's about the lessons and the transformation that comes with that piece of content more than everything else. So the challenges I face now is, for me, it's hard because in my consulting, I drive consistency. So I create models for businesses to drive consistent business, but it's a different than when you're driving a course. So for me now, it's about consistency. It's just about managing the technology stack, the KPIs, the reporting, the traffic, and just getting that part finely tuned and scalable, if you like, and making sure that can grow as big as I can possibly get it, with as much profitability as I can get it.
Sure. So it is just like you teach your clients about building consistency in your business so it can just, work systematically. That makes sense. Now, you hinted about your daughter being sick and at home as well. That, to me, a lot of what I do online is more like a lifestyle choice. Working from home and me expecting a baby soon. I'm excited about that because I can be at home and work and take care of the baby as well. So I'm curious to learn more about you. How has your life or lifestyle changed once you became, however you would call it, successful? Has there been a dramatic shift in how you live your life, or has it been more or less the same?
Yeah, in terms of where I position my business over the last couple of years, definitely. I no longer travel. So as I said, 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, I spent a long time, and this is for something, I do this with my clients. Think about what you're going to create, the model that you're going to create, and actually think about the reality. So I spent some time traveling abroad. I competed in around the world yacht race in my kind of early to mid 30s, and spent some time living abroad in Thailand, the Caribbean, Bahamas, doing scuba diving. Kind of took a little bit of my retirement early, if you like. I just finished doing an MBA and was overweight and smoked far too much, living a bad lifestyle. Selling high value technology. So I went away, came back and set up a sales training business. It was akin to what I used to do before. Learned a lot of SEO, went over to the States, positioned my company, but I was getting calls from all over the UK. I was a one person business, didn't want to be anything else. To run sales training courses at the other end of the country, and they wanted to pay me, what was an eighth of what my day rate was, so it just feels so much. And then the business that I wanted, I was going all around the country. And that wasn't, I'd created the monster that I didn't want in the end. So the more successful that I was becoming at that, the more I hated it. And it's hard when you put yourself in a position that you don't like. So it was a blessing and a curse. So I think it was Penguin, the Google update. I played the game. And one day my website, I woke up one morning, and while I dominated the UK search, I just disappeared from everything and nowhere to be found. And I had no backup plan. But that was a good thing. So, fast forward to now, I acquired by marriage a 9-year-old daughter. And I have a just coming up to 2-year-old boy. So a couple of years ago, I rarely travel in terms of consulting and training now. So most of my stuff is done online, either through online training programs or coaching off the back of it. So I very rarely travel. And the flexibility that allows you, I have an office. I'm in an office now, a couple of miles away from my house, but I do a lot of work from home. And it's great. My little boy was taken ill with chicken pox last week. My wife still works. She's career oriented. So I spent most of the last week working from home. But I can still work. I can still be productive. I can still earn income. Yeah. This whole hands-free recurring income model, it's not quite the reality, because there's still a lot of stuff you wanna you've got to take care of. But, you know, I spend most of my time working from home or my office, which is about a mile away from my house. Very rarely travel anymore. And if I do travel to client sites, only when they paid me. So, you know, and it's a strange way of thinking for a lot of conventional businesses. You know, we have a call. Would you like to come and see me? You know, why do I need to come and see you? You know, it's like, let's get you paid, let's get it taken care of. So the flexibility that the online arena has afforded me is
Mhm.
is perfect. You know, it's just amazing. The time that I spend with my family instead of being cooped up in a hotel somewhere is fantastic.
I agree. I think money is a means to an end. It's not the end itself. So you create what you create so you can spend it on the right things. For some people, it's cars and houses. For me and you, it's the family front. So that's
Yeah,
good.
be careful what you want to create, because, you know, I look at some people and they're creating something that the reality is in a couple of years' time they're going to hate what they create. You know, it's a tough one.
Sure, sure. I understand. Now, I've got a quick round of quick fire questions for you, and I'm just going to ask you something quickly. First thing that pops in your head, you can tell me. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So, what's your favorite book?
So a book, I'm a massive fan of a book by a guy called Robert Ringer. So it's called Winning Through Intimidation. And it's not quite how the title sounds. It's a slight shift on that. So it's one of the best books you can ever read about positioning and taking control of your own destiny within a marketplace. And in fact, winning when everyone else is trying to intimidate you. So he had a big influence on Dan Kennedy, you know, world-renowned marketer. But brilliant book. Definitely recommend it.
I must check it out. I must. What kind of music do you like usually?
For me, I'm old school house and female vocal, so R&B or house or something of that nature. Anything with a killer female vocal.
Okay, and do you have a favorite band or song that you like?
Yeah, I'm not into favorites that much, but for me, because of my age, there was a UK band called Soul to Soul, were quite groundbreaking when I was about 17, I think 16, 17, when they came out and changed kind of the way that R&B was originated in the UK. So I guess those guys.
Okay, and when you're traveling, I know you're not doing too much now, but when you are you more of a city person or a beach person?
Definitely not cities. So I live in a city. I live in a city, but I'm beach and water orientated. So I've been lucky because of some other interests that I have. You know, I spent a year sailing around the world in a yacht race. I've lived in the Bahamas, lived in the Caribbean, lived in Thailand, visited places like Tahiti and Marquesa Islands, which very few people ever get to. So for me, it's all about islands and beaches.
Okay, and you said Tahiti. Is that your favorite place to visit then, or is it something else?
Yeah, well, so the Tahiti archipelago or Marquesa Islands around there. Yeah, so for me, it's scuba diving. Wherever there's good scuba diving. So I've got very fond memories of a place called Rangiroa. It's in the Tahiti. Tahiti's not just one place; it's a sort of an archipelago, hundreds of
Sure.
small islands. So I stayed in a place called Rangiroa. Amazing place.
I made a note of it because I do a bit of scuba diving myself, only have the beginner certificate, but I do enjoy it. I've done this in Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. So
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm a diving instructor, so I've been lucky to work on a lot of dive boats, a couple of dive films. I took a couple of years out of my retirement in my kind of mid-30s, and Rangiroa is a fantastic place. Fantastic.
sure. So we're coming to the last part of this podcast, this interview. So I've got a question for you. A lot of people who are listening to this, watching this, they might be worried that they're not good enough to create and sell a course. I mean, they have these niggling doubts in the back of their head. Do you have something that you can say to them to motivate them?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, just I know just do it. You know, don't spend too much time creating the course so much, but make sure you're in tune with your marketplace and what they want, and create what they want rather than what you want to give them. And if you can do that with quality, then just go out and do it. You know, don't spend a year creating a product that you think is going to be a world beater. Get in tune with your marketplace, get in tune with what they want. And even if you have to co-create it, but don't overcomplicate the process. Pick a technology. Doesn't matter if it's the best in the world, you know, yours is a fantastic one, I'm a user, but just pick one and stop spending weeks evaluating everything else. You know, if your content is good, if you truly believe your content is good, then just go out there and make those sales, because it's the money that you get back that will validate your offer.
That's a fair point. And as they say, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great, Peter. It's been good. Quick last thing. If people want to get in touch with you, learn more about you, where can they go? And I'll drop the links as well. I'll take them from you later, but where can they learn more about you?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Neil. So my website is www.peterodonahue.com. There's some free resources on there. Like I say, kind of my community is business consultants or consultants, typically sort of 30 to 60, but not limited to that. But that's people who get use of my content. And I have a Facebook group, which I think is Facebook.com/groups/the Consultants HQ, the Consultants HQ.
Sure. I'll drop these links underneath the podcast as well. But Peter, I appreciate a lot you being on this call. Thank you so much. I know you have a busy day ahead as well. So I really appreciate you taking the time out today.
No, thank you. And what I haven't said already is, you know, thank you very much, because I've seen huge changes in the short time that you've had your platform. I'm a user; it's getting better day by day. I trust it to do everything that I do with my selling my course. So thank you very much as well.
Of course, we appreciate you contributing as well to the community.
Cheers.
Bye.